So next up is Oana, and Juana's coming from Italy. So it's like nine. I think she's in Italy right now. So it's like nine, almost 10 o'clock at night for her. So she's going to come on and share some stuff around the N8N and how to actually do some product audits and how to actually start making sure your listings are talking to AI on Amazon and some more cool stuff. So Juana, if you want to go ahead and unmute and turn on your camera,
Yes.
there you.
So if you can hear me, hey Kevin, hey
Hi,
everybody.
I can hear you.
Hi. It's a bit confusing because I'm actually have my audio on one device that I'm going to share my screen on and the video on another device because I'm currently traveling. I'm not in Italy at the
Oh, you're
moment.
not. Okay.
No, I'm in Romania. I'm
All
in
right.
Romania
Okay.
this week. Then I need to fly to Prague for the
That's
conference,
right.
and it's like yes, and so it we will make it happen.
Okay.
I'm on two
That's
devices
doable.
at the
All right.
moment, but yeah, super excited to be here. Hey everybody, and yes, as mentioned today, we will tap into something quite Amazon specific. What do I mean by that? Now, before we start, I want to ask how many of you do a quarterly audit on your listings? And what I mean by that is looking at your listing, making tweaks to it if necessary, compare that to what's happening on the market, compare that to your competitors, look at how they are doing, pull reports, SQP, analyze, of course, PPC data. Yes, on a quarterly basis. Now that's amazing because that's exactly what I'm going to share with you guys today. Super excited. This is the result of a lot of months of work. It's an in-house tool built by Anthony Lee, Jeff Anderson, Danny McMillan, and myself. What it does an
Are
audit
we
on your
supposed to be
listing.
seeing a screen right now? Because we just hear the audio.
Okay, let me do that. So is this
Now
working?
we see your whole desktop. Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Mm, okay, Chrome. You
Now we
should
see,
be seeing
yeah, we see a
the
diagram.
intro.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the NA10, there you go. This is amazing. Yes, perfect. So, what this tool does, again, it performs an audit on your listing, taking into consideration your SQP data, Rufus, your advertising data. We ask for that, and then we start digging and scraping a lot of information from a category. The output is just a 70 pages audit report that you get. Now, let's think about how long it would take you manually before diving and showing you. So this is the thing. I will not be able to show you step by step how to build this because it will take us months, literally. But I'm going to guide you through each agent because basically this is a low-code multi-agent automation framework. Um, Normally, we tested it manually. We wanted to see how long it would take our team to do this. And on average, it takes about a week and a half, close to 2 weeks to pull, analyze, refine everything on a manual level. That's why when we decided, and we built this for a 30 million brand, it was built out of necessity last year. Um, we wanted to start auditing, making tweaks, and then have like a recurring process on a quarterly basis to try to understand what else can we do to get improvements. Proudly, we hit a 25 increase in revenue in Jan and Feb for this specific brand, and that's when we decided to bulletproof the audit, utilizing products from a top 100 brand on Amazon. That's why right now we will be showing you what it does, but it also gives you the ability to get access to the reporting officially. Like, I want to say that I'm excited. We will have an intro price social for this webinar. Yes, we are turning this into a service at the end. Yes, exactly. This is a service that you will have. I will show you at the end and I will guide you exactly what it happens. But I would like to start digging into the tool. So this is basically the main framework. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, not in my normal working space, but we will make it happen. The first thing that we do a couple of API calls. Yeah, we utilize Rainforest. You will see a lot of like these alert signs over here, and that's for a specific reason. This is the duplicate exact tool, but it's the dummy one. So it's if I click on anything, it will not generate. That's why you'll see it like this. Because I created it specifically for you guys for the workshop. So we do an API call. It's the Rainforest API. We start scraping data. What we need from everybody from the beginning, of course, it's an intro call. We want to understand the goals, the pain points, and what happens. But we would need the SQP data, the search term report, the main keyword, and of course the ASIN. And once that we have that, we start pulling data from the API. We do different API calls. And you will see a lot of these super base. Like Anthony says, this is the problem solver whenever you create an automation. Why? Because we utilize Supabase as a cloud infrastructure where we store the data. So we do an API call, we scrape data, we store it, and that's all. The first refinement, let me actually do this even more. Now, the refinement agent, this is the first and maybe one of the most important agents that we have that we created in this workflow. Why? Because after that we pulled an incredible amount of data from the category, we need to start refining it. We need to start refining and understanding what's relevant for us and for the product. And that's kind of like where it all starts. I'm going to share this with you. So it combines the listing, it gets refinements, and I only need product details. And what are the essential refinements with a lot of codes and of course the prompting over here, but it will get more interesting, I promise you. After we do that, we store it and then we go after competitors. Now, why do we start generating competitors on our own? We need to understand based on the main keyword, and you will see how we do different API calls because we scrape, we do a keyword research as well. We want to pull all the competitors, so then again, we can refine it and we build something that's called the category sheet generator. Why? Because in the process of refinement, the information that we have, we want to understand our main competitors, where they stand, which category, which browsing node, which subcategory, and their BSR. And that's something that we use as information and as data as we go through different agents across the flow, and when we start kind of like refining all the information that we have. Then we generate the category sheet and we get into the product agent. Now I really want to show you guys this one over here. Now, the product agent is basically I would say again, maybe the second most important agent overall. This is the agent that analyzes the product. It looks at the product and it pulls the entire information, images included. And what I mean by images is not only that it pulls the text on the images, but let me show you the prompting. It wants to understand specifics, highlight the products compared to what they have on the list from the competitors, the specific elements, the materials, certifications, everything. What does it do? How does it solve the product specifically pain points better than anything else? So what it does, it starts looking at the information that we pulled so far, and it responds to these specific questions. Should the product highlight any claims or any other claims or specifications from the listing that we are making or not making? We want to be as detailed as possible. And in this specific output, also you will find the detailed information on the images. And that's interesting because you will be able to see how we analyze, because the AI sees the images and it pulls out a text information on what the images are that can easily be like, it's like explaining to a blind person what's in the images. Why is that important? That's important when you start going through the refinement agents for the customer persona, for example, and it will do comparisons in terms of what we have versus what competitors have versus what we should have based on the brand mood, based on our strengths, based on our pain points in comparison to what's on the market. What are our competitors doing? This was really, really powerful when we started doing this because a lot of insights came out on how can I make tweaks on my images, for example. What should I do to improve my images? And that is why at the end you basically get a creative brief as well after all the insights. Now let's go back to the main workflow. So once that it goes through the product agent, we get the Pareto sheet generator. Now, this is not an agent, actually. They are only codes. It is proprietary information. I will explain what it does. I cannot give you the prompts or the code to it, unfortunately. So basically, we want to understand what are the 20% of the, like the data that you have in terms of the SQP analysis, because I mentioned we analyze the SQP and the advertising that generate 80% of the results. That's why we called it. It's the 80-20 rule at the end of the day. So we calculate and we dive deep into your data in order to understand what brings in the the results and what can you do better, because at the end you will see that each of the sections in the audit, basically it comes with the analysis of what we did, what is being generated by each agent, and at the end are the insights and the action items. That's how it is structured. Because at the end of the day is you can get the audit, 70 pages. I get that it can be overwhelming. The whole purpose would be that you have a team that you give it to, or different departments, and each have their own section and kind of like, okay, this is the overview of what's currently a pain point and what you should do. In the Pareto would be something that the manager would look at and would just make decisions based on maybe what are the next steps for advertising or in terms of a ranking strategy based on your SQP data, because again, that's what we are looking at. The attributes agent, to open this one for you. Of course, as the name says, we look at the market research on the Amazon from the listing, and we try to understand our attributes, how they are optimized versus our competitors. Again, from the whole list of competitors that we pull from the category, we want to understand our top 5 competitors. And here we analyze the list of attributes. And at the end is like, what is similar in attributes and what do they share and what are the differences? Because as you've seen, sometimes, something like occasion, for example, right? There are listings in which the attributes aren't reached, and I strongly suggest everybody to go and optimize their backend because it's so important, not only for Rufus, not only for Cosmo, but for ranking overall. So yeah, this would be one of the agents that analyzes and tells you if you should make tweaks to your attributes that show on the front end, but of course, also most importantly, to your back end, which not all of them show, but believe me, when it comes to, okay, when it comes to the to ranking strategies and just indexation overall, Again, especially for Rufus, as Kevin mentioned, that's very important. And by the way, with this reporting, we also look at the Rufus questions, and at the end, you do get the list of 100 questions and the answers for Rufus. After we go through the attribute agent, we have the category agent. Now, this is interesting because the goal here is we look at our product versus the 5 competitors. And what it does, it pulls like a table format in which you look and you say, okay, this is the main category, this is the subcategory. We look at the browsing node entirely and we split it out, the item type, and then the BSR. Purpose, we want to understand if maybe there are subcategories, because sometimes you kind of like, overlook the importance of being in the right subcategory. We don't want to miss that. We want to understand if there are other subcategories that maybe it could help you rank higher, but ultimately understanding where your other 5 competitors are placed at all times, BSR subcategory, it's quite important for you to kind of like plan your next move. So this is what the category agent does. Now on the customer agent, and let me pull this one. Now, this looks like this, quite complex. Now, what it does, we analyze the reviews that we scrape and the Rufus questions that we pull. And you get all that information and you prompt it. Let me actually show you. This is huge. Nope, not this one. This. So we pull all that information and then we start asking it to analyze it. Specifically for themes like positive themes, the buyer persona, and based on that specific product type. We want a comprehensive customer persona profile. And in the audit, you actually get 3 because we refine it down the road. You get the demographics, the challenges, everything that would be related to a customer persona, like what's the problem. And then we describe the categories. Why is that important? Think about a product that has, I don't know, a demographics that's quite big, like, I don't know, 25 to 55. Most likely it would be challenging. No, unfortunately I'm on 2 screens. That's why it's quite challenging. Again, I'm traveling and I have 2 devices. I'm not in my normal working station. So back to the insights. We want to understand insights on our demographics. And we thought about the challenges when you have a product that can be sold to a 25-year-old versus a 55-year-old, for example, right? And in that case, that's a big demographic gap. So we split that in making sure that when we look at creatives, when we look at the tone of voice, when we look at strategies on how we can sell to that specific person, we have those groups, at least like 3 groups in mind that we create strategies around, visuals, and of course, like the approach in terms of how we go to market when we talk to that specific person. So this prompting, that's why it's quite big, but at the end you get 3 customer personas that help you with your strategy. Going back to the main workflow. Once that we have the customer agent, we get into the SEO. Now this is fun because here, let's actually look at it. We analyze the title, we analyze the bullet points, and then what it does, based on the information that it has so far, the SQP data, the analysis from the Pareto agent, the Rufus questions and everything, it's already trained on SEO. And what it does, it currently analyzes your title, your competitor's title, then it comes with 3 recommendations for three new titles. Short, medium, and longer title, of course, within the characters that are allowed. And of course, it's Amazon compliant because it is trained on the guidelines. But this is quite interesting in terms of testing and A/B testing different titles. Now, why do we give three options of title? If you were to launch and if you were to use this for a product that's maybe currently launching or quite new to Amazon, I would suggest that you look at this from like more an indexation standpoint because it is important to train the algo in understanding what the product is, how it can help customers, and of course have a very well optimized and enriched enriched title overall, like copy and everything front end and back end. If it's a product that has been selling on Amazon for many years, I think it's interesting to test even a shorter title, like the direction that Amazon has been going, because it already knows what your product is. It's already indexed, and you can check that with different tools. You can see that from your SQP. So at the end of the day, it comes down to how it resonates to the audience. And the most incredible thing is that this SEO agent also takes into consideration the previous information that we have from the customer personas. And that's where the magic comes in, basically, because we know we need to create titles and text that engage with that customer that I have in mind, right? So again, quite a big prompt in terms of what it's the expression and the result that we get out of it. And at the end, we get these, let's see, save. Again, this is a dummy account. That's why I really wanted to like not mess with the one that's connected. Then we get into the PPC agent. Again, this is proprietary. It's based on our own internal analysis that we make. But at the end of the day, we look at what's working for you, what's not working, what are the keywords that maybe you should go after. Again, pulling and looking at the information that you gave from the SQP. And from the keyword research that we do from scraping, and kind of like this should be maybe keywords that you should go after or avoid these. But you get a lot of insights from a PPC standpoint from this specific section. So you get the analysis and then, of course, action items. Then you have the image alignment agent. Remember in the beginning when I kind of like explained, and I was quite, every time that I talk about that, I get excited because the image alignment agent, what it does, goes and pulls the information from the beginning when we looked and we scraped all the images and we tried to understand what they represent. It pulls that plus, again, all the information that we have because it's like a domino effect. And then it says, okay, based on what you have so far, this is where kind of like you're missing on images. So instead of showing, for example, I don't know, I'm just making an example. Instead of showing a couple of that look around 45, 50 years old, try to tap into 25, 30-year-old, like a younger demographics, because that's what it would bring better results in alignment to your customer persona and the information that you have so far. And then at the end is the optimization agent that kicks in and gives kind of like all the information that you have so far. It's like the overall, I would say, touch at the end based on everything that it has. Those are the last pages on the audit. And yes, at the end, plus you would to get the engram sheet, the category sheet on how you should lay that and how you should continue to monitor, a creative brief, and of course, the Rufus questions, as I mentioned, with the answers as well. But yeah, this would be, the automation that, built on NA10. How it works on Mac. I actually have the device where I'm sharing at the moment is on a Mac. I'm on the Windows on the other one where my webcam is working. It works perfect. I'm a Mac user. Even at home, I use Mac and it works perfect. Let me actually show you this. So I don't know if you can see this, if it's working. Perfect. We have a limited time offer basically at the moment. If you have questions, you can reach out to my email, one at Stardust Plus Services. But basically, for one product, it would be 1.5K per product, the audit. Of course, as you would need, a higher number of products to be audited, the price can go down up to 1K. What I wanted to mention is that you get the output from the audit itself, but then it requires about 2 days of human intervention. What do I mean by that? Each of the agents that you saw generates its own output that we would need to, of course, audit, make sure that it's all okay, get that from an NA10, put it in a presentation that you get, and then, of course, it's like an outro call. I mentioned that there's an intro call where we go over like what are the challenges, what would be the goals, what are the current pain points, and then we go in and do our own analysis. And at the end, there's the presentation call for the audit itself. But yeah, it takes about 2 days of human work, I would say human intervention on it after all the scraping and the analysis that we did so far. Let me go through some of the questions I know that some of you had.
So I want to ask, do you have a sample of the final, the 70 something page? Do you have like something like that where you can just kind of show, just scroll through it real fast or whatever, just give them an idea?
At the moment, I don't, just because I didn't prepare it. I want to be honest with you. But if anybody would have like any question, would like to see that before maybe purchasing, we can schedule a call. It would need to be, I would say through utilizing my email, and we would schedule it after this week because I have an event coming up this specific week, so I will be out. But once I'm back, we can definitely look at it. But I don't have at the moment an example for the call. I didn't actually think about it because it's like 70 pages long. And I was like, I don't know if people would want to go through that to see how it looks, but yes. Let me see. Are there any other questions that I'm going to steal Chris's tactic, and if anybody has a question, like put a queue right now and then drop it so I wouldn't need to. Oh, I have Jeff. Perfect. So we have an example. Perfect. Let me try to pull this from the. Thanks, Jeff. Let me try to open it here. Jeff, for some reason, I don't have it on the other device. Can you please copy paste it again? It doesn't work. So would something like this work for a micro niche brand? Yes, of course. It works for all types of products. It doesn't necessarily need to, they are doing generic. Yes,
If Jeff
it,
wants
it
to come
does
on
work.
and show this from his side, so if you can't get it to work from your side, that's okay too.
Yeah. Do you think that's possible, Jeff? I'm going to stop sharing my screen just because I cannot pull it on this. Just so we have the example for the report.
Amy's asking who are the co-creators of this? She says she loves
Anthony Lee,
what you put together.
thank you so much. So we have Anthony Lee, Jeff Anderson, Danny McMillan, and myself. Just emailed Kevin. Okay.
Email me. Okay.
Kevin, you got the
Uh,
yes.
let me see.
Thank you, Jeff.
Sample audit. Okay, let's see if I can pull it up. It's in Canva.
Mm-hmm. It should be a Canva link that for me is not loading.
Um, yeah, I got it here. Let me share the screen.
Bogdan, unfortunately, no discounts specifically for Romanians. We
Hey,
have discounts based on, I know, based on quantity for everybody.
share screen. Let's see, share this.
Putting Edwin on the spot. Yes.
Yep, there we go. Is there a way to blow this up? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So
I
this,
think it is. Yeah.
let me see that. So this
Yes.
looks like it's the template of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a product overview. What's your product overview?
And then it starts pulling the information like your star rating, everything. This is from the scraping first step that we do that I showed you. And then we start pulling the competitors. And after the refinement from the category information, you get to look at the product assessment, you versus the competitors. So yeah, you go into the strength analysis, the attributes assessment. So it's kind of like in the same order that you saw on the flow. That's why I mentioned that it's kind of like a domino effect because you pull a lot of data and you have a lot of inputs and then it goes like step by step into the refinements that it does. And you have each output on its own. That's why we even structured it like that because from a logistics standpoint, knock on wood, hope it doesn't happen, but let's say you have an API call that doesn't work, you can go and fix it and it does not compromise the entire output. Would any of the prompts that you have be shared with us? I can share them a couple, yes. Definitely, I did not prepare any like specific, but I would be more than happy to share if you reach out, you drop me an email, and yeah, I will definitely share some of the prompts that we have, except the ones that I mentioned that are proprietary, like the PPC ones, and of course the Pareto, which is not even an agent. You would not have a prompt. That's all code.
Well, this is pretty detailed.
72 pages in total.
Yeah, I'm on
Yes.
page 69. My thumbs are getting tired. My fingers are getting tired.
It can become overwhelming. That is why, like, it would be best that you take this as a guidebook, and how it was built. So you have this reporting as the owner or as the manager that would be in charge of the product itself would look at just the section where it's like, these are the insights, these are the action items that you need to do. But all the details and the why would be given to the person in charge of that specific piece. Like, for example, on creative, you would go to the creative team. On the PPC, you would go to the agency or the specialist that handles the PPC side of things.
Cool. Any other questions that you see in there?
I see that somebody's asking me how to contact me. I'm going to drop this in the link. This is my email. Feel free to reach out and yeah, want to add Stardust.services. That would be the best way to contact me. A copy of the file of the audit or a copy of the workflow, because a copy of the workflow would not be possible. You can get the template that we can look at it. The audit, yeah, of course. It's a template, of course. we run it on a template on a dummy one. Perfect.
Awesome.
Yes, once that you get the reporting, it's like a guidebook on what you would need to optimize, but it's all laid down in terms of these are the things that your team needs to be aware of. These are the action items over the next, I would say, maybe 3 months. And what we suggest is that you do this on a quarterly basis, right? So you can monitor the results and see the impact.
Cool. Well, Juana, I really appreciate you coming on and showing how the process works and how you built these agents. I think agents are going to become more and more um, prominent this year, and I think that a lot of people that understand that or can put together them or utilize them are going to have a major advantage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks,
En-
Kevin.
Enjoy Prague at the that's the European Summit, right?
Yes, it's the European
Lucas,
Seller
something
Conference.
like that. Yeah. Enjoy that. It's a good conference. I've spoken at that a couple times.
Thank you. Thank you. Super excited for it. And then I will see you in Vegas.
That's right. I'll see you in Vegas. Uh,
Thanks,
all
everybody.
right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. We got